To coworkers, same company, same job title, same salary for 3 years running. One of them just put down a deposit on a house. The other is quietly borrowing money from his parents to cover rent this month. Same office, same desk, same paycheck landing in the same bank account every 2 weeks. And if you ask the one borrowing from his parents what went wrong, he can't tell you. Because from where he stands, nothing went wrong, no disaster, no emergency that wiped him out. No single moment he can point to and say, that's where it all fell apart. The money just never stayed. Here's the part that changes everything. The person who made that down payment isn't smarter. He didn't get lucky. He doesn't have a wealthy family, a secret side income, or a clever investment that paid off. He simply runs by a different set of rules. Rules he's never really talked about, rules he built quietly over time, that now operate automatically beneath every financial decision he makes. This video is about those rules. Here's something researchers have consistently documented, yet almost no one in mainstream financial media is willing to say plainly. There is almost no relationship between income and financial stability, almost none. Behavioral economists call it the income stability paradox. Give to people the same salary, the same cost of living, the same starting point, and within 5 years, one will have built something real while the other has nothing to show for it. Same inputs, completely different outputs. And the difference is never luck. It's always the invisible rules running underneath the visible behavior. My name is Maya. If you're new here, I'm not a financial advisor, and I'm not going to pretend to be one. I spent years on the wrong side of this paradox before I finally understood what was actually happening. Not just what to do, but why the brain behaves the way it does around money, and how to work with that instead of constantly fighting it. If you're curious about my story, you can find the video above. What I share here is money psychology, the behavior behind the numbers. This is for educational purposes only. Always make your own financial decisions. Now, here are the 10 rules that financially stable people follow quietly, automatically, and almost never talk about. Before we get into the rules, let's clear something up first. The framework most of us inherited says financial stability is about income discipline and sacrifice. Earn more, spend less, control yourself. If you're struggling, you're simply not trying hard enough. This framework isn't just wrong, it's actively counterproductive, because it places a problem inside you in your willpower, your character, your effort, when the real problem is in the system you're running. These 10 rules are a different system. Not harder, not requiring more discipline than you already have. Just different, and in this case, different is everything. Rule 1. Protect the gap between what you earn and what your life costs. There is one number that determines your entire financial trajectory, not your salary, not your savings rate, not your investment returns. It's the gap, the space between your income and your fixed expenses. Every dollar inside that gap is a dollar with options. Every dollar absorbed by fixed costs is a dollar that will never build anything. Most people don't struggle financially because they spend too much on coffee or takeout. They struggle because their fixed costs, rent, car payments, subscriptions, ongoing commitments, slowly expand to consume their entire income. And fixed costs are almost impossible to cut quickly. They lock in. They become the floor everything else stands on. Financially stable people treat this gap as sacred. When income rises, the gap grows with it. The lifestyle doesn't automatically expand to fill it. That single discipline, keeping the gap alive, is the most structurally important financial decision most people never consciously make. Rule 2. Never make a purchase decision in the moment of desire. The version of you that wants something is not the same version that will live with the consequences. Desire is a neurological event. It triggers a specific biochemical response. Dopamine floods the brain's reward system. The prefrontal cortex that handles long-term thinking partially shuts down, and the present moment feels far more important than it actually is. This isn't weakness, it's just how the brain works. But it means decisions made in moments of desire are systematically tilted toward immediate gain and away from long-term consequence. The purchase feels more significant than it is. The cost feels smaller than it is. Financially stable people have internalized one rule. The moment of desire is never the moment of decision. They build a mandatory gap between wanting something and acquiring it, not out of self-doubt, but because they understand how their brain works, and they've designed a system that accounts for it. A 48-hour rule, a running list where items must sit for 2 weeks before buying, a set day each month to review non-essential purchases with a clear head. The specific method matters less than the principle. Desire and decision must always be separated by time. Rule 3. Run every significant purchase through a future self-test. Most people evaluate purchases from their current emotional state. Do I want this now? Does this feel right now? Can I afford this now? Financially stable people ask a different question. Will my future self, 6 months from now, a year from now, be glad this happened, or quietly regret it? This isn't about deprivation, it's about honest accounting. The gym equipment your future self will actually use is a very different calculation from the equipment your current self is excited about after a burst of January motivation. The upgrade you want now because a colleague just got one looks very different when your future self is 18 months into the car payment, feeling nothing particular about it. The future self-test cuts through the emotional noise at the point of purchase. It doesn't always say no, sometimes it says yes, clearly and confidently. But it asks the question the desire brain is specifically built to avoid. Rule 4. Automate the right behaviors before the wrong ones settle in. Habits that run on autopilot require no decision-making energy. Habits that demand an active choice every single time will eventually break down under stress, fatigue, or emotional pressure. Financially stable people automate their most important financial behaviors as early as possible, not because they're more disciplined, but because they understand that discipline is a finite resource, and it depletes fastest exactly when it's needed most. Savings that transfer automatically on payday never require a decision to save. Investment contributions that move before money reaches a spendable account never require a decision to invest. Bills up process without manual action never get skipped during a difficult week. The goal isn't to become someone who always makes the right call under pressure. The goal is to build a system where the most critical financial behaviors happen without needing a decision at all. Automation isn't laziness, it's architecture. Rule 5. Understand what you're actually buying when you buy anything. Every purchase is a package. You're not buying the object. You're buying the object plus everything it will demand from you for as long as you own it. Your time, your attention, your mental energy, your space, and your future money. A car isn't just transportation. It's transportation plus insurance, plus maintenance, plus the cognitive load of managing a depreciating asset, plus whatever identity it attaches to you, whether you consciously chose that identity or not. A large home isn't just space. It's space plus the hours needed to maintain it, the furniture required to fill it, heating and cooling costs that scale with square footage, and the quiet psychological weight of everything that accumulates inside over the years. Financially stable people buy the whole package. They calculate what they're actually taking on before they commit, not to avoid every major purchase, but to make major purchases with complete information, rather than the incomplete picture the desire brain presents at the moment of decision. Rule 6. Treat your attention as a financial resource. This one sounds the strangest until you really think about it. Your attention is finite. Every demand on it, every object that needs organizing, every subscription that needs reviewing, every obligation that needs managing, draws from the same limited pool you also need for earning money, thinking clearly, and making sound decisions. Researchers have found that financial stress is one of the most significant drains on cognitive capacity there is. People under financial pressure don't just feel worse. They measurably perform worse on completely unrelated mental tasks. The mental load of financial instability consumes processing power that could otherwise be directed toward the very decisions and actions that would improve their situation. Financially stable people manage their attention as deliberately as they manage their money. They reduce the number of financial decisions that require active thought. They let go of possessions and commitments that generate ongoing mental load without delivering real value. They build systems that run quietly in the background rather than constantly demanding attention. Less to manage means more capacity for what actually matters, And that capacity is worth real money. Rule 7. Know the difference between a purchase and a membership. Most people think in terms of one-time transactions. You pay, you own it, done. But most modern spending doesn't work that way. Most of it functions like a membership, an ongoing commitment of money, time, or attention that continues indefinitely from the moment you first say yes. A streaming subscription isn't a $15 purchase. It's a $15 per month membership that costs $180 this year, and $180 next year, and the year after that unless you actively cancel it. A finance car isn't a single transaction. It's a monthly membership to that car for the next 5 or 6 years. A home in a neighborhood with certain social expectations is a membership to that lifestyle. The restaurants, the gatherings, the visible markers of belonging the neighborhood quietly requires. Financially stable people ask what something costs to belong to, not just what it costs to acquire. And they're selective about which memberships they join, because every one they accept is a future obligation that narrows their choices. Rule 8. Make financial decisions based on your actual life, not the life you imagine having. Most people shop for a version of themselves that doesn't quite exist yet. The one who will use the home gym every day, host the dinner parties that justify the dining set, go camping every weekend and get full value from the gear. This imagined self is optimistic, consistent, and motivated in ways the real self simply isn't. And buying for the imagined self instead of the actual self is one of the most common and costly financial mistakes people make. Financially stable people base their purchasing decisions on evidence from their real behavior, not projections from their best intentions. How many times did I actually do this in the past year? Not how many times did I plan to. How many times did I actually do it? The historical record is almost always more honest than the optimistic forecast. This isn't pessimism, it's accuracy. And accurate purchasing decisions, calibrated to your real life rather than your imagined one, cost dramatically less over time, while delivering just as much genuine satisfaction. Rule 9. Recognize that your financial identity shapes your financial behavior. Every financial decision you make is quietly influenced by the answer to a question you may have never consciously asked yourself. What kind of person am I with money? If the underlying answer is someone who's bad with money, someone who always overspends, someone who can never seem to get ahead, then every financial decision you make gets filtered through that identity. The overspend confirms it. The missed savings target confirms it. Identity produces behavior, and behavior reinforces identity. The loop runs automatically, mostly out of sight. Financially stable people carry a different identity underneath. Not a fantasy, not I'll be wealthy someday, but something grounded and present. This identity doesn't require perfect execution. It requires a genuine shift in how you see yourself in relation to money. And once that shift happens, the decisions begin to follow, not through willpower, but through the deeply human tendency to act in alignment with who we believe we are. Rule 10. Measure financial progress by the freedom you gain, not the things you accumulate. The conventional measure of financial progress is accumulation. More things, bigger things, more expensive things. The car upgrade, the home upgrade, the wardrobe that signals arrival. Financially stable people measure it differently. They measure progress by the options that open up as their financial position strengthens. Can you take a month off without it becoming a crisis? Can you walk away from something that's damaging your health without it being a financial catastrophe? Can you make a major life decision based on what you genuinely want, rather than what your fixed costs allow? Can you absorb an unexpected expense without everything else unraveling? These are the real markers of financial progress. They're invisible to the people around you. They don't announce themselves at dinner, but they represent something no visible accumulation can replace: the actual ability to choose your life, rather than having your financial situation choose it for you. Every purchase that raises your fixed costs pushes that freedom further away. Every decision that widens the gap between income and expenses brings it closer. That's the trade worth paying attention to. Of these 10 rules, which one are you not currently running? Drop your answer in the comments. I read everything, and the patterns I see in those responses shape exactly what this channel covers next. I spoke with someone recently who had been feeling stuck for years. Same salary, same stress, same quiet unease at the end of every month. Even though nothing was obviously wrong, he went through these rules carefully. Rule 1. The gap had been quietly closing for years as his lifestyle automatically expanded with every small income increase. Rule 7. He was enrolled in far more memberships than he had ever consciously chosen, each one the result of a small decision that seemed harmless at the time. Rule 9. The financial identity running beneath the surface was someone who just isn't good at this, and that belief had been steering his decisions for years without him ever naming it. 3 rules, not 10, just 3, and once he saw them clearly, they explained for years of stagnation. He made changes in those 3 areas, not motivational changes, structural ones. He held the lifestyle gap steady despite an income increase. He audited and canceled memberships he had never deliberately chosen. And he began building a different financial identity, not through affirmations, but through small, consistent actions that slowly accumulated into evidence. 6 months later, he said something I hear often from people who go through this kind of shift. It wasn't just that he had more money, though he did. It was that financial decisions felt different, less like resistance, more like just what he does now. That's what it feels like when a different system is finally running. Here's what to do before this video ends. Step 1. Right now, find the one rule from this list that most accurately describes something you've been doing, without realizing it. Not the most interesting one, the most honest one. Write it down. Step 2. This week, decide on one structural change that addresses that rule. Not a promise to try harder, an actual change to the system. Something that removes a decision, automates a behavior, or creates distance between desire and action. Step 3. This month, run that change for 30 days without judging whether it's working. 30 days is a minimum it takes for a new system to stop feeling like effort and start feeling like normal. One rule, one structural change, 30 days. Pause this video right now and write that rule down before you continue. The moment of honest identification is a leverage point. Everything else follows from there. You were told that financial stability comes from earning more, spending less, and working harder. It doesn't. It comes from running a different system than the one you inherited. A system built around how your brain actually works, not how the financial advice industry wishes it did. A system designed so that the right behaviors happen automatically, and the wrong ones become structurally difficult. A system that doesn't demand heroic discipline because it doesn't need to. You are not someone who is bad with money. You are someone who was handed a system that produces exactly the results you've been experiencing, and who was never shown that a different system was available. That changes now. The 10 rules in this video aren't a checklist to complete once and move on from. They're a system to build gradually, starting with a single rule that most clearly speaks to where you are right now. Each rule you implement makes the next one easier. Each structural change reduces the mental load of the decision that follows. The system compounds, and at some point, sooner than you'd expect, the financial decisions that currently feel like effort will simply feel like what you do. Not because you became someone different, because you built a different system, and the system became you. One last question before you go. Which of these 10 rules do you think would create the most immediate shift in your financial life? And what is actually standing between you and putting it into practice? Leave your answer below. I read every single comment, and the most honest answers in this section are often more useful than anything in the video itself. If something shifted for you today, subscribe. This channel exists for one reason: to give you the kind of understanding that makes financial stability feel natural, rather than like a constant struggle. And before you go, the next video takes one specific rule from this list and goes much deeper into the psychology behind it. In my experience, it's the rule that unlocks everything else. It's already there when you're ready. Watch it next, because truly understanding that rule is what makes everything else on this list fall into place. not as a collection of separate things to remember, but as a single, coherent system that runs on its own.